Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to have a little bit of an update on the SBA loans and how the process is going so far with the local banks, with the lenders, and as well as the SBA. So what I wanted to dive in a little bit today is having a comparison on the PPP loan, which is the payroll protection plan, against the 7B, the disaster loan. And thank you for joining in. And again, my name is Laura DeHanis. I am with my CPA Pro. We are an accounting firm here, licensed in the state of California, and we serve clients throughout the United States. I have been in this industry for about 20 years now, and we are helping clients and individuals right now in the time of crisis. So if you have any questions, please make sure you like this page and you make your comment, you put your comments below, and I'll do my best to respond to each one of you. Again, thank you for watching. So the first one I would be, the reason why I'm recording this update is because I am getting so many messages. I have emails, screenshots. People have tried to apply and they have no application. They don't receive email confirmations. People are confused. There's so many emails. Everyone's trying to give you information about this loan. So how do you know what applies to you? How do you know which one is right? So I wanted to kind of put in comparison side by side the two types of loans right now that have been very common. So the PPP, right, the Payroll Protection Plan, has just rolled out as of April 3rd, which was last Friday. Not all banks rolled it out at the same time. Bank of America was the first one to jump out. So I just want to go and give you a little overview of this loan. And if you want to watch my previous videos about kind of like an overview of the CARES Act, I will link I'll put a link below in the description box, and you can go watch that to see to get a big overview on the whole package. So this loan is meant for businesses that have 500 employees or less that are suffering right now because of the restricted movement and the lockdown and government restrictions on what is open and what's not open. And this should cover expenses as payroll, and a payroll is a really large, right now it's a different definition of payroll that we know. So we have payroll, we have rent, we have mortgage interest, we have utilities, right? So that's the PPP loan. And the other loan, the disaster loan, the SBA 7B loan, is the one that we're looking in comparison today. And that one is for operational expenses. Now, this loan rolled out on the 16th, 17th of March, right? So people have already applied for the disaster loans prior to the PPP loan being rolled out. So looking at the two loans side by side, let's look at some key elements. The qualifications for the business will be pretty much the same. Okay, there's not a huge differentiation there. What I really want to mention is franchisees that are excluded from the SBA loans, they're not on the franchisees list, have an exception to disaster loans right now and the PPP, and they would qualify. So don't exclude yourself. If you suffer, if you have loss and you cannot pay wages, rent, utilities, and all of that, just make sure that you try to apply. Okay, so the first element is how much can you get. So you can look at the 7B, which is disaster loan EIDL, you get up to $10 million. On the PPP, you get payroll at 2.5, times 2.5, no more than $10 million. So let's cap it out at $10 million. Let's look at interest rates. Okay, now the PPP, you get 1% interest rate for the first 2 years, then it gets refinanced at 4%. Okay, the term on that is 10 years. The 7B loan, the disaster loan, is 3.75% for businesses, for profit businesses, and 2.75 for nonprofit businesses. Now, look, and that's up to 30 years term on it. Now, looking at a little bit at the period, when do you use it? For what time period, right? So on the time period, on the 7B, the EIDL, you will have January 31st as a starting period where you can get paid for expenses, right? So if you had operational expenses from January 31st onward until the end of the year, you can go ahead and use the funds for that. And just a comment on this, a lot of people who have received, who have applied, are starting to receive the payments right now. Now, if you use the money for payroll, okay, now you can refinance the EIDL loan with the PPP loan, which comes as a forgivable loan. I know it's a handful, but so the PPP loan covers you from February 15, 2020 up to June 30th, 2020. Okay? Now, this loan would cover expenses, especially payroll, for up to 2.5 months. And the reason why is because they want you to pay, it's for a span of 8 weeks to pay people. So people say it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that people stay home. But literally, you would just pay people to stay home. Okay? So keep that in mind when you apply for both of them. Now, the most common question that I get on this too is, can I apply for both of them? And there's a lot of different pieces, a lot of different banks are coming out. So the short answer is yes, you can apply for both of them. Now, you cannot apply or you cannot use the two loans for the same expense. Like if I use one for rent, I can use the other one for rent because they'll be double dipping. You get the money twice, right? So, and you get one forgiven. So you would get, rent, double rent. So keep that in mind. You can apply for both of them. And if there's a better time to apply, that time is now. So if you have any questions for this, please leave a comment below. I would love to see your comments. If you try to apply, how does that work? Let's see what else on the terms. Grant component, that's a big piece. So the PPP loan is not a grant. Okay, a lot of people believe that's a grant. It's actually a loan. It functions exactly like a loan. So if you do not apply for forgiveness, if you do not provide the supporting documents, that functions like a loan. You will have to pay it back. Payback is going to be 4%, sorry. So again, there's a deferral portion. For both loans, the deferral can be up to 12 months from the date of disbursement. So the date of application. So from date of application, it's 12 months of deferment on both sides of the loans if you have to pay it back. So going back to the grant, okay, the 7B loan has a grant component, that $10,000 that people are talking about. And I know people out there have computations. If all the businesses apply for the $10,000, the money's gone. Now, the problem with that right now is how do you even get the $10,000? Because we used to believe that you get the $10,000 in 3 days after you apply. Now we know better because, time, really resolves almost all problems, right? So we're looking at the applications that we put in, and there's already received disbursement for the disaster loans. So once you apply, and we'll talk about where you apply. Once you apply, you'll have to wait to be connected to a loan officer for your loan, right? Once you get connected to the loan officer, you would get a disbursement of $10,000 within 3 days. Okay, then you have to really follow through with the whole application, provide all the supporting documentation, and if the loan gets denied, that you don't qualify for the loan, then you get to keep the $10,000 as a grant. If they approve your application, the $10,000 is just an advance that gets rolled in the remainder of the loan, and you get to pay it back on a 30-year loan with an interest of 3.75% if you are a for-profit. Okay, I know it's a lot. Just stay with me. I know just want to give you a comparison so you really see how does this benefit your business, because there's so many little pieces that you have to really find out how will this work. So as we mentioned earlier, the use of funds has to be very specific. You cannot use the loans for the same purpose. So if you will use one for payroll, you cannot use the other one for the same payroll. So that's very, very rigid. So you want to make sure that you do your math, do your financials, see what do you need help in the next 30 days, in the next 60 days, in the next 90 days to see which one benefit you and your business the most. The other items here that I want to put side by side would be collateral. Now, on the PPP program, there's no collateral needed. On the other program, they say no collateral needed, but they will ask you for your assets for all the owners 20% or more, is because they can put a lien if you default. So, they cannot deny you without a collateral, but just keep that in mind. Personal guarantees, there's none needed. There is the other option that we have here, what's other? So prepayment penalty, that's a big one. Prepayment, there's no prepayment penalty. So if you get a loan and somehow magically everything comes back together and you generate revenue, you don't need it, you don't want to get in debt, you can pay it back. There's no harm, right? The one thing I want to mention on the disaster loan is that if you need more funds, let's say you get qualified, you get the first disbursement, and you need more funds, you can go and request an additional disbursement from the original loan, right? Now, on the PPP side, you can't do that. Okay, there's no going back and asking for more unless there's another bill that extends this, or unless there's new guidance that comes out as we go. This is valid as of April 7, 2020. So I just want to make sure everyone knows this is not all inclusive. This doesn't give you like a full picture of it. The whole bill is 900 pages long. So I'm giving you an overview, putting side by side the two loans to get or to help you make a decision what works best for your business. There was another element that I wanted to talk to you about. So refinancing, I think we mentioned that a little bit. Let's see, funding source. I think I'm going to leave that for last. That's a really, really important element. And stay tuned. I really want to talk about the banks versus SBA. If you need your 2019 taxes completed, you, generally speaking, you don't have to have them completed. However, for the lenders, if you work with specific lenders, they might request that. So you might have it ready. And when you get the loan, you actually sign a form that all the tax returns for a number of years will be available to the lenders to pull. So they can pull it directly from the IRS as soon as it becomes available. That's that. The approval timeline. So we talk about the advance cash for 3 days and the disbursement for the disaster loan will take 3+ weeks. So in about 3 weeks, you can see a disbursement. We already start seeing disbursements for the people that really got the applications in for this by the 16th or the 17th of March. Okay, so keep that in mind. The same for the PPP. They say it will be sooner. We haven't seen any funding yet, so we're yet to see. I don't know. I will bring some updates as soon as we have information from the PPP. Now, the biggest piece of the whole video is, where do I apply? Okay, this is all things that everything that we talked about gets really, really messy. So for the disaster loan, you have to use SBA. Okay, you go on the SBA website and they have the COVID-19 and you apply for the loan. Now, that's not really an application. It's almost like a letter of intent, writing a few pieces of information to see if you qualify. When it gets to the lender, to the loan officer, then you will be requested to provide a big stack of documentation, and then you go through the process. Okay, so keep that in mind. You submit a short application. When you get the loan officer, you get the in 3 days or within 3 days you get a 10,000 grant. They give you the document list they need to provide. Then they get to process it. First disbursement within 3-4 weeks. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a long process. Now, talk about the PPP program, and I could talk about this for another hour, but I'll try to be concise and short with the latest updates that I have for right now. Now, here's the scoop. All the loans are backed up by the SBA, but there's a lender involved, right? The PPP is rolled out by the banks. Some banks wanted to opt in, some banks don't want to do it. They don't want to deal with it. So banks get to decide who they want to give the loans to. Although SBA fully backed up the loans. So just think about this for a moment. Some banks do not have the human capital to go in and invest training them how to get the process done. They don't understand the rules exactly. The underwriting process is not, they don't have full guidance on it. They're short of staff. The banks are actually closed. The applications need to be done online. The systems need to be rolled out. Everything has to be done online, right? So, and there's not a whole lot of pay that they get. They don't get much. The lenders that actually participate get about 5% of the loan amount. So it's not a really good incentive for them to really provide the service. So the biggest players right now that we have are within the major banks. We have Bank of America is one of the biggest one that really processes a lot of the loans. However, each bank would have separate requirements. Now, besides what the SBA regulation and the guidance tells us to get together for these loans, the banks will have specific requirements to qualify you to use their bank to take the PPP loan. Okay? Now, the important element here is that you have to try to use your bank. So let's say you Bank of America, you need to have a checking account, a business checking account. You need to have a credit card and a loan, or so you have to have three components there to be able to qualify. If you qualify, they will even let you apply. If you don't qualify, they deny you from the beginning. You can't even apply, right? So they have the right to do so. Now, I get questions from different people choosing different banks. Like, we know Citi doesn't want to participate. So as of now, they don't want to participate. Now we have other banks like US Bank, right? That is still processing. Chase is working through the COVID-19. So look at your bank. Where do you have your checking, savings, credit cards for your business? That is the best choice to go in and try to apply for these loans, because you apply using your login. So when you have your information, your login to go into your online banking, then is where you would go in and start the application. So the clients that we work with, actually we work with our clients' login information. That's the only way we can apply. We don't have a back door. It's the same information. The only thing that we do different is we package the information. We write the summary, we write the executive information, we communicate with the lenders on their behalf, because that can be so challenging right now. One person get qualified, one person doesn't get qualified. So not to make this longer than necessary, try to work with your bank. If you don't have a bank where you have all the, where your bank doesn't participate in the SBA loan program right now, try to use, if you have like a loan, I can give you a simple one that is very common within the, the small business world. Kabbage. Kabbage is a very simple a tool or lender that is used by many businesses. I know the interest varies. So Kabbage started processing PPP loans. It's not a bank. It's just a lender, right? I think they work with West Bank, if I'm not mistaken on that. If I'm mistaken, please leave a comment below. I might be mistaken. Sorry. But I know that's one of them. Now, again, if you use QuickBooks for your books, they are rolling out a program to start applying directly from QuickBooks to the PPP program using Kabbage. That's what I assume that's going to be Kabbage, because Kabbage is available to us via QuickBooks. So if you use QuickBooks Online, or if you have questions on that, please leave a comment below. I'll know to make, I'll respond to you, or if you want to know more information, I can shoot a video on that as well. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you have some great tools to use. Just don't give up. I know it's crazy. I know it's insane out there. Every time, every day there's new guidance, there's new forms to fill out, there's new information, and it could be overwhelming. And I understand. If you, go and follow the guidance, you can definitely do it, okay, on your own. If you need help, you want to book an appointment with me, please use the link below. I have a special link for the COVID-19 loan application strategy. Please, feel free to schedule an appointment there, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Please make sure that you like this video, give it a thumbs up, put your comments if you have any comments, and subscribe, click the bell button so you know when we post the next video. Until the next time, stay safe.